It's a familiar finals yet again. Because in the top left of Oceanborn, we do have Team Liquid's Clem. And on the bottom right, it is Basilisk's Reynor. It was Clem versus Max Pax week after 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 week. Then Reynor started playing again. And after an initial disappointing couple of Open Cups, Europe and North America, where he was taken out at the round of 4 or even once at the round of 8, I want to say. And I assumed he was playing random and he wasn't. He has now been not dominating the Open Cups as one would expect, but he is getting as far in the Open Cups as one would expect, which is, of course, to the finals. Reynor playing only Zerg, pretty favored in a lot of matchups and a lot of games, and is generally favored up until he faces Clem. He's slightly favored versus Max Pax, but that was quite a contested series. And is favored versus Harsum, but even then has been slipping a little bit more. But Reynor's really been putting in the efforts, trying to improve, leading up the Katowice. His nemesis of the Open Cup remains to be Clem. I don't know if that was proper English, but it remains Clem. 2 racks coming out for Clem actually to start things off as well, which is a departure from his usual sequence of games in a best of 5. Usually he starts off with his 3cc, the old good standard, and then goes into some 2-rack shenanigans, or 3 racks even. But not this time around. I don't think Oceanborn is particularly well known for his 2 racks either, so I think he's just changing it up to change it up. But it is just a 2 racks into Command Center, and then we'll see what goes on from there. I had not paid attention to exactly what Reynor did, but Reynor was going for the later speeds, despite whatever opener he actually went for as far as pool hatch timing. And then he didn't in a game that was very important that he didn't. Clem, I think, still ended up winning it, even though he didn't win out the initial trade of the build orders. So they both are really reading a lot into each other, no doubt about that. It's not just mechanical output who is faster, who is stronger right now, which I do believe is still Clem, to be clear. It's just there's also a lot of strategy that's still going into it, even though we think of, and rightfully so, think of TvZ as a very, very mechanical matchup. You know, even the early game shenanigans like this can be something to work off of. Obviously, we do have the possibility of cheeses and trying to throw off your opponent's mental game and all the good stuff. But Reynor, despite putting tons of effort into practice, particularly for this matchup and getting the best possible practice without just directly facing Clem a billion times over and over again, still falters against him. They've been tightly contested series, except the big brain Basilisk bouts, in which it was a more 3-1. Reynor also did struggle a lot. That Reaper is dead. Did struggle a lot in their last Open Cup finals, in which it looked like he was about to be 3-0'd, but he almost brought it back for a reverse sweep. Almost. Clem does lose that Reaper in the main base at the end of the day, and while that was inevitable, we saw that coming, it is worth noting Clem doesn't often lose that Reaper. Also worth noting is that Reynor did go for really the, you know, at one point in time, this was the normal speed, actually. But I think nowadays you would call it faster speed, 330 finish. Just, you know, metas, I guess. But he also delayed his 3rd hatch, so he really didn't want to play games with the Reaper, even though he could have tried to send the Queens out to try and get that drone to build the hatchery to get it going, because it was only 3 Reapers. It wasn't a cheeky 4 or 5. It wasn't a cheeky 3 racks. So, I mean, Reynor kind of like cuts his losses, I suppose. Says, I'm not going to fight over this, so I'll have still a very clean game. But it's not ideal, I would say. Faster +1 Carapace by the looks of this single evolution chamber. Clem's follow-up into the command center was a given. It was the follow-up to that was more in question, and it is going to be the factory Cyclone Hellion 3cc, which I feel like I've never seen do very well. And is it about to fail again? It is about to fail again. Stop doing this build! Clem manages to make something out of it. He does trade out more so with the Lings. Had a little bit of, you know, acknowledgement of the incoming surround because his Reapers were being surrounded, but that was still so funny. I have yet to see Clem's 2 Cyclone, 2 Hellion follow-up aggression actually work. And there's some argument to it working by forcing Lings out. Okay, alright, fine. But it always gets surrounded. Doesn't necessarily mean he loses the game, but I believe this was a similar circumstance to a lost game last time they played in the Open Cup. So hey, maybe it's a good sign for Reynor. 2-1-1 now up and ready to go. Double Engineering Bay, not particularly quick, so this +1 Carapace is actually going to work really well against the combat shieldless, upgradeless Marines. You know, the first drop that comes out, a surround on that would be very effective for the Lings. And Reynor is going up to the usual stuff now. +1 melee finally starts as well. His Baneling Nest has started up. His gas is being added on. And the 4th hatch should be in his sights very, very, very soon. Clem's 3rd CC gets put down on location. A couple of Hellenes left behind. They really aren't going to be doing very much else, so might as well do some run-by protection. Reynor's economy. I know I kind of rolled my eyes at the Cyclone Hellion thing getting surrounded, forcing out Lings, but actually, it is worth noting that Reynor's economy is not that impressive. Now, he did work off of a lower economy, kind of all-in, an aggressive, low econ 4-base ZVT setup in the finale of the last best of 5 they played in the Open Cup, and it was pretty awesome, but didn't quite work. I don't believe that is his plan here. I think... Well, actually, it might be. If it is his plan, it's not going to be as effective. Oh, Jesus. 2 medevacs almost not as effective. 1 very nearly dying. And these 2 medevacs really have not done a lot. I think Reynor is actually worried that it is going to be another just really intense, all-out Ling flood. So he scans the natural and starts to determine exactly what this guy's doing. See, I'm actually not sure what the scan on the natural is supposed to accomplish exactly. It could have seen a Hydralistan or a Roachhorn or something, but otherwise the gases would be taken, the drones would be saturated on the natural, wouldn't it? I don't know, but regardless, he's seeing more Lings being pumped out, and perhaps just that lack of 4th base at any particularly good time has already indicated to Clem that he needs to be cautious. And so he is. His Hellions will buy just enough time for the Marines to return, but SCVs will still be going down. It's not enough for Reynor, who really is on a low economy, and so this is the plan. And that's fine. So I didn't think it was, but it is. But the plan still is looking worse because his larva is a bit worse. Okay, finally, larva just popped. So not 600 minerals being banked up, but rather 300 is looking a little bit better. But if Clem is also onto this, then playing a more defensive type of Terran is going to work out well for him, who will... You know, eventually get a better army, he'll get a better economy, and he will win into the mid and late game. But I don't know if Clem actually did pick up on this. Another Ling run by is actually going to surprise him. And oh, the Baneling Carnage. 22 SCVs going down. Clem also now dealing with Lings in his natural. He is trying to get an attack onto his opponent's 4th base, but that's really a 5th at this time. It will be successfully killed, but can he find anything more? Clem, I thought he was reading into the situation, but apparently not. It is once again as chaotic as it was in Game 5 of the previous week. Now, Clem was able to pull out and actually win, but that was also Reynor doing a couple of wrong things, I would argue. Let's see if he can be improved upon here. Double medevac drop still going kind of strong in the main base. Gonna kill another queen. Lings being denied any further damage in the natural and 3rd base at the very least, and things still are not clear-cut as to who is winning. Clem might be sub 40 drones, but Reynor's 65, 64 workers really is not all that impressive. When Clem starts dropping mules again and building some SCVs, like, oh, Baneling bombs! He will recover. And Reynor might not have done enough damage to actually set him up into an easy mid-game. Certainly favorable, especially if these Baneling bombs keep popping off. Wouldn't mind's not going to be able to burrow fast enough to actually do the damage. That one will save the Marines, but Reynor now has burrowed Banelings on his side as well. Obviously, Clem, oh no, he's not paying attention to that! Oh my god, GG's. That was really weird, actually. I mean, I'm glad that Reynor gets the start here, because I don't think he's won the first game in a while, but Clem, I really thought Clem was thinking of that, and that's why he scanned the natural. Again, kind of a weird choice for a scan, because I'm not sure exactly what that's supposed to scout, but just kind of the like I said, like the lack of 4th base, the knowledge that Reynor is throwing out that build as well recently, just like, you know, like, oh, are you doing that thing again? And then, he didn't. And then after he seemingly, for the YouTube, I guess, so it's kind of a weird game 1. Game 2, on equilibrium, top left Clem, top right Reynor. So I was just kind of scratching my head here because Clem seemed to have picked up on something was going wrong. Terrans don't need to scan into the Zerg's natural, I think, most games. They might scan if they're wary of a Roach all-in. That's one of the more common scans in the mid-game that we'll see. And then, obviously if they just think anything weird is happening, whatever that weirdness is. I don't know what he could have scanned in the natural to really determine, like, yes, no, that is an all-in, that isn't an all-in. But I'm sure there's something that I just don't know, right? Clem's way better. But he clearly either didn't take it seriously or didn't realize it because he was entirely out of position to deal with a humongous Ling run by. And trying to outrun the Ling flood, kind of, like it doesn't work. Trying to out-action the Ling flood style that Reynor's playing doesn't really work in favor of the Terran a lot of the time. Just because the more chaotic things get, the more that splash and creep spread is going to work in the Zerg's favor. The Widow Mines usually not able to be sieged, as quickly. If they are even with the attacking army, sometimes they are not. So you don't have splash, but they do. Obviously, creep spread benefits the Zerg, not the Terran. And the speedier things get, just the less control you're able to show off, which does favor the Zerg. So usually it's definitely not the choice, I would say, to go into a base trade for the Terran if you acknowledge that that's the Zerg's plan, is to low drone count, Ling flood you. So I can't believe that was actually something he was just willing to try. But it might be, actually. Clem does seem to use these open cups as a training grounds, which is appropriate. He doesn't just win them. He also does things that he doesn't often do in main tournaments, like more cheeses, more... Not mech, actually. He doesn't really experiment with mech, but if he were, it would be in an open cup. Or something like that, perhaps, where he's like, well, I know what he's doing, but I've never tried to just run after him. What if I did that? It's possible, I guess. And then the Baneling bombs at the end, which really was the clincher, wasn't it? I think Clem had a chance before all those Baneling bombs went off, but, he's like, I'm aware Baneling bombs are a thing. Let me scout forward with one Marine and then send the rest of my Marines down a choke without a scan. Probably just didn't have a scan and YOLO'd. Probably. But if there's a consecutive kind of question mark that made me scratch my head after game 1. That's making me sound very Clem favored because I'm thinking of a billion ways as to why he lost the game as opposed to a billion ways as to why Reynor won it, but I do believe Clem is favored, and I am more shocked at the decision making from the Terran. But anyway, moving on. We have a 3cc build from Clem back to his standard build. It is into a 2-on-1, so one of the greedier versions of it. Yeah. And Reynor has successfully gotten his third hatch, finally. He was delayed a little bit on that triangle third, which is annoying. He does not yet know what his opponent's doing exactly. In fact, no scouting done whatsoever. This Overlord taking a very cautious stance. That is a... Oh, that's a second gas. So I know it's a fast third. Gas. It's not a third. Yeah, so just a typical 2-on-1. And Reynor would be able to know that it's a 3cc just by the supply depots if he really wanted to. But I think basically, probably a safe bet would be if your opponent's not... If Clem isn't 2-raxing you, then he's 3ccing you. There's not really a lot of builds that are considered good that are in between those two things nowadays, I guess. Do whatever you want on ladder, but as far as the pros go, very few of them are doing something like a 2-base 1-1-1 into 3rd CC anymore. It's almost always 3rd CC before a 1-1-1. Some outliers exist, of course. But Clem's certainly a big fan of 3cc. Layers on the way now for Reynor as he is looking to go into Ling Baneling. He does try Roaches occasionally versus Clem, but I don't think this is the map for it. He tries Roach All-Lings versus Clem on some of the maps. Sure, he's also tried what I think is really just now becoming Serral's thing. Like, Serral does it every game. That Ling, Baneling, Roach, Ravager into Hive. At least he seems to be the best with it. Reynor was trying that, but I think Reynor has found more success lately, literally in the last 2 weeks, with being very aggressive and run-by oriented with Ling, Baneling. And that certainly is correct. I mean, I can think of the games that he was able to win. He had run-bys. He had aggression, either by choice with a lower than average drone count or by coincidence. Or there were games where he had absolutely 0 run-bys, totally fine economy, was dealing with the Terran aggression totally fine, A-okay, but he had 0 run-bys and 0 form of his own aggression, and those were the games that he lost. He just got dismantled slowly but surely. So, I don't disagree if Reynor's thinking, okay, let's just play like really heavy Lings all the time against this kid. Seems to be what's working for him, but eventually Clem could be picking up on that. And I think there is a way to defend against it by being a little bit more cautious. That certainly wasn't Clem in the last game, and Clem, this time around, getting caught by the perfectly timed Ling run-by, just barely not enough Marines at that 3rd command center. So loses 6 SCVs, distracted as well. Reynor's Queens will do the job of warding away the double drop on the 4th, a gold base this time around. Creep spread, though, is going to be cleaned up. That's expected. +1 Carapace, again, the emphasis. 2nd Evolution Chamber, only now coming down, so an even later +1 melee than last game. Whereas Clem's upgrades actually are matching, exceeding those of Reynor's with this particular build. It does get faster upgrades. And the SCV loss from earlier really doesn't mean very much, especially when Reynor is playing that lower drone count once again. I mean, Clem wants to be saturated on his bases, sure, but if he's not, but Reynor also isn't, although Reynor will have a gold, it's, you know, it's okay. That gold is, I guess, the real stickler in this map. It's that Reynor would still be playing lower drone style, even if the gold is making up for a certain number of drones usually produced. So, it is something that Clem is going to have to be wary of once again. Just that there will be that little bit more of an adrenaline spike for Reynor as he is getting plenty of minerals with less drones. 5 SCVs go down again. That 2nd factory was delayed, and I think that is worth emphasizing. The 2nd factory, if that was a 4th command center at 7 minutes, well, then Reynor really should be pushing the pedal to the metal, you know? That would be an ideal situation, but it's not. So again, Clem might be picking up on this. It's still a fast 4th, but that's also just the way that the Terran plays now. Clem's Terran plays. But it wasn't a 7-minute 4th, at least. Nonetheless, I am actually really shocked. Clem just does not seem to recognize or respect Reynor's Ling swell style. Again, 15 SCVs being killed is not the end of the world for Clem, who is at a still better worker count than his opponent. And even though Reynor has the gold helping him, although wouldn't mind distracting, Clem with mules drop still does fine in the economy. It feels like the thing about the Zerg style that we're seeing here isn't necessarily about when it kills 15 SCVs. It's about when it kills 15 SCVs, then 5 SCVs, then 10 Marines, then 3 Widow Mines, then 10 Marines, then gets into the natural, then gets into the main base. It snowballs. And when the Terran doesn't respect that, well, this happens. No canceled 4th command center, 3rd CC not mining, 2nd factory burning, and the equal amount of damage will not be done on Reynor's side of the map, because at this point it is easier for Reynor to defend than for Clem to attack. It's not a balance complaint, it's just the way that it is. I think Clem might now be looking to be a little more defensive. His miss-rally is making him look like he's taking this seriously, but you can see he's just messing up. He's miss-rallying his army units, his SCVs are locked out by a raised supply depot, and as soon as he lowers it, that's when the Ling attack comes in, of course. Reynor is going to be relentless, and Reynor's playing wonderfully. I don't want to take that away from him, but Clem is also playing questionably against the style that I think has been kind of evident. That +2 attack not quite done. That's too bad, because this round would be going way worse for the Lings if the +2 attack was done. Finally finishes up. Widow Mines have to be careful not to friendly fire, so they're not currently helping against the Ling Baneling. Reynor continuing to flood forward here. He's going to run out of units as the Banelings do not arrive in time. Oh, going to be sniped as well. But SCVs continue to go down, and Clem is not finding quite the equivalent damage on the other side of the map. 3 drones go down for him. Reynor is still not overpowering in supply, and at any point, those upgraded Marines can start to take much, much better fights, provided they don't get hit by banelings. And that is maybe what we're finally seeing, but Clem is playing, I feel like, one of the more dangerous ways to play against this style. It might still work, because this style is an all-in. There is a certain point in which it is very clear that Ling flooding is not going to work anymore. It's a very clear cutoff point. I mean, it might have hit that, but not quite yet. Queens do go down. That's also less injects. Reynor has been floating pretty consistently at least 300 minerals. So that's what's going to happen, I suppose. He is getting to 2-2. Faster than Clem gets to his own 2-2. Clem did not have the resource. They're up to +2 armor. Finally finding them much, much later. I think most importantly, it continues to emphasize the attack, but yeah. Reynor's upgrades kicking in is going to help him once again. Maybe another little power spike. That Clem has regained his economy, regained an army supply, and now should be in a okay position as long as the run-bys don't catch him totally off guard. Excellent Widow Mine shot, but then excellent Baneling hits on top of the 3rd CC. Little tit for tat. More SCVs going down as well in the natural. Those +2 melee Lings really wreaking havoc there. And the medevacs once again forced to pick up and evacuate, because you're just not going to get that same amount of damage done if the Zerg player has reinforcements anyway back at home. And that's maybe what Clem is always hoping won't happen. He's always hoping that Reynor will have too many units attacking into him, trying to across the map, and will not be ready to defend at home. And it's starting to happen, actually, as the Baneling's not here. So the Marines find themselves a nice little choke. Deal with that easy peasy, kill 10 drones, and Clem might still be winning after all. Medevacs are getting torn down, but still 1 left over means continued harassment. Attack on the top side as well. Widowmine's burrowing this time with Drilling Claw is a lot better as well. Liberator's adding another problem for Reynor to deal with, although this one not so much. And Reynor is going to try and take as much advantage as possible with the disruption of the rally. He will force the entire Terran army back. A lot of the Terran army, by the way, is in medevacs. 10 medevacs filling up that army supply, so it's not as one-sided as it seems. Finally, Reynor deals with the harassment on his 4th base, but now dealing with Liberator harassment somewhere. I heard it, and I guess it got killed. And we do still have a game in which Reynor is ahead in supply. But damn if they are not playing some of the scrappiest TvZ possible. I still, like, I want to be really hype about this type of game like it was for game number 5 last week. It just feels like it's been such a kind of clumsy game, I guess, is the word I want to use. Kind of clumsy. But that's certainly the way that these games are going to go more so, I guess. It's going to be more chaos, and in more chaos, there's chances to be clumsier. Clem is going to get hit by another run-by. What else is new? Plenty of reinforcements this time around, but Burrow adding in that another depth for the Zerg player. Burrowed Baneling's going to be a real concern. Widowmine appropriately split from. Good job, good job. And the medevac's still flying around. 9 of them still intact. How many queens do we have? 4 of the queens, so they're barely getting the injects. No creep spread, no anti-air. And if they are going for anti-air, they're not getting the injects. And this base, well, doesn't need an inject so much as it needs defense. Drones pulled away as fast as possible. Surrounds trying to come in as well. Queen's trying to help out as much as they can on the high ground, but only so much. Banelings are very much necessary, and Reynor does not have any. So once again, this mineral choke is going to be the death of many a Lings, and 1 Baneling will certainly not be enough. Clem taking some really resource-efficient engagements in the last 30 seconds is not going to kill the hatchery, but still has taken down so many Lings and a decent amount of drones, though 15 SCVs also went down. So Clem, by the way, who's not been able to replace them consistently, it has not been triple SCV production for some time, is all the way down to 24 SCVs. That's 1 base mining sufficiently. And he is very close to being at that point, because his main and natural are mining out. Reynor not in a much better position. His first 3 bases should be mining out as well. His gold base will eventually dissipate, and that 5th base over here is constantly under pressure, but it really has to be. If Clem ever lets that just comfortably mine, he'll be in a lot of trouble in the economic position. Widowmine's popping off left, right, and center, but so far efficiently for the Terran, or for the Zerg, rather, I was going to say. I guess anything's efficient for a Widowmine if it gets a second chance at life, but these are going to get cleaned up thanks to that Overseer. Attacking the main base for another drop. He's going to try and do some damage, try and limit the injects, and try and limit the economy. Drones pulled away. Lair now under attack. Can Reynor come back and save it in time? It looks like he will be able to if he can just get his army over there. Nothing else is currently attacking him. Queen pops out to help and immediately dies too. That Lair will survive, but a lot more Lings went into the meat grinder, and a lot more queens also going down. Overlord's also being misrallied in the heat of the moment. No Overlord speed either, so they are all goners, and that's something that Reynor actually really cannot afford. He also can afford to lose his base, and it's gonna go down. No more efficient mining here. Clem even gets a scan. That's the GG opposite scan, right? It's not the am I screwed, it's the are you screwed. And Clem, with that scan, sees no base, no intentions for a base, and knows that his opponent must be getting more screwed by the second. There are just not enough minerals on the first 4 bases of a StarCraft 2 game. Legacy of the Void. If this is Wings of Liberty, might be a different story. But Reynor might finally be out of steam after a clumsy start, lots of action for the last 10 minutes, and finally more and more convincing battles for the Terran. I do think this game is going to go the way of Clem. It just felt like he was making life so much harder for him, and the way that he was playing against Reynor, and Reynor is going for these low econ Ling floods, that Clem has barely been able to get a handle on things. Burrowed Banelings, I think, just popped off. I was checking the economy. Banelings were connecting with some units, but still not enough. Not with that +3 attack having been done for a while at this point, too. That's obviously been helping a lot of these pure Marine versus Ling battles. Clem scans a rebuilding base. I guess he was wanting to find maybe burrowed drones. Didn't find any, which is still a good sign. There's no drones even prepared to mine from that. 5 more SCVs went down, but Clem's still kind of comfortable, weirdly enough, on 26 SCVs. You know, the same way that I've been speaking about how the Zerg is going to be favored as far as the defense in an action-packed game, the Terran is obviously, has always been favored in low econ scenarios because they can always drop mules. Now, the Burrow addition is really quite good. It's good for a lot of reasons. Forcing out scans, obviously a huge one in the low econ. But he really needed to also get damage done. Wood of Mine's popping off, kind of for some friendly fire too, though. The supplies are currently even. Clem has a almost 20 army supply lead. 9 SCVs go down. Burrowed Banelings on the gold minerals as well, looking to kill the rest of the SCVs that might be coming on forward. There is a scan available, so they won't do that. That's not enough reinforcements, however, to defend against this Ling run by on the gold base. Wood of Mine's more likely to do friendly fire than actually help out. They're being microed as well. Reynor going for the throat at this point. Has some Banelings coming up behind this. Clem still has the overall bigger army supply, but where the hell is it? It doesn't look like it's here. Wood of Mine's gonna pop off. Oh, friendly fire on the Medivacs, which are very injured from earlier on, and Clem might have actually over-defended his gold base. Maybe this was a time to evacuate. Instead, he's evacuating after he already lost his army. He's losing more SCVs to his own Wood of Mines, and Reynor might still be doing this. The low econ Zerg flood seems to be the weakness of Clem. What the hell? Where is his army? Where the hell? It's all Wood of Mines. It's 18 Wood of Mines. Holy shit. It's 18 Wood of Mines. That is why he has a superior army. Are you kidding me? I was waiting for like 20 Marines to pop up. But 18 Wood of Mines cannot win a game. They don't kill buildings. One Liberator having its micro of its life right now. Come on, micro. It's gonna kill 3 drones, not much more than that, and that's not really worth it. Wood of Mine still planted offensively and defensively. One Overseer without Overlord speed has not been able to keep up with the amount of Wood of Mines that Clem has produced, and that's why Clem isn't leaving, is because he still has a chance. 50 minerals goes into 1 Marine with +3 attack. Godsend, alright? If the Wood of Mines can protect him until he does that for 10 times, suddenly he has 15 Marines, he can do anything with 15 Marines. He's a god. But the Wood of Mine's starting to fight back on him. The SCVs are not allowed to mine on the gold base. Reynor is mitigating the damage from the Wood of Mines and finally clearing them up as well. And Clem seems to be out of luck. He has 5 SCVs that cannot mine, triple mule that cannot mine reliably, anyway. And they're getting one, you know, they're getting one, what is it called? One chance to bring back their minerals and then they die. Or the command center has to lift. Burrow, once again, costing mules. Command center on fire means it has to be repaired. That's costing minerals. Wood of Mines occasionally getting some good shots, but not always. Good Baneling focus fire. That's what we expect from Clem. He has managed to build up those number of Marines that I was talking about, right? He gave this guy 10 Marines. Suddenly you're in a whole world of trouble once again. Reynor has gotten his base back to mining, though, and I think that's the big thing here. The big thing is that Reynor is actually mining. If he was not able to get another base, and we're talking about pure micro of that many Marines versus that many Ling Baneling, Clem wins every single time. But Clem is going to tap out as he realizes that he is just not going to do enough damage. G freaking G. What the hell? A surprising result here as we get into what could be the final game of this man. Down 2 on his last life. He is Liquid Clem. In the top left, we do have Reynor, who has figured out the weakness. And I'm a little shocked. It's not that powerful of a style that I think Reynor has found the secret to Zerg. You know? Why doesn't everyone do this all the time? So I don't really want to attribute it so much to Reynor's brilliance, although he does use it brilliantly. He is very good. As much as I do want to contribute it to Clem clearly not being comfortable against it. And that has happened in the past. So, you know, I'm not that surprised, I guess, by the idea. But, you know, Clem used to have a lot of trouble versus Roach builds. And so, particularly, he was having a lot of trouble versus Dark, because Dark was the best with Roach builds. So, it was a combination of him being uncomfortable and Dark being very good, which I think is happening again. It's the combination of Reynor being very good, but then that Ling, Baneling, low econ styles is really starting to catch Clem off guard and revealing itself to be an actual weakness, not just a, ha, I gotcha. So, yeah, it has happened. I guess I really didn't think it was going to happen with Ling Baneling, because at the end of the day, even though it's a low econ aggressive Ling Baneling, it is a familiar composition. It's one that I think Clem usually does the best at, because it's the one that he's, I think, most well practiced against. The Roaches really had such a different tempo that I think he just felt uncomfortable when you compared his games versus Ling Baneling users than to Roach users. I'm talking like 2 or 3 years ago. He just looked uncomfortable. He didn't know when to zig when he should have zagged, you know? And it kind of... It's not even really that. Yeah, it's not that. It's not that he's looking like he's indecisive. It actually instead looks like Clem is so overconfident that he is decisive. But he's maybe incorrectly decisive? I'm not going to say that a player's doing something wrong unless I'm 100% sure. So, I'm not going to quite say it yet. But the way that Clem is playing against Reynor's low econ style, it's giving him trouble. That much we all can agree on. It's giving him trouble. And I think it is something that you will eventually learn to play against. Reaper survives, Creeper survives. And won't be so much of a problem unless it catches you off guard. Because that is usually the powerful thing about it, is that people expect you playing Ling Baneling to be purely on the defense, maybe a cheeky run by, but not the intent of the Zerg is to run by you to death. So you go, oh shit, that's what they're doing. Okay, my bad. I'll be more wary of it next time. Well, this is, 2 times in a row at the very least. And after the first game, I thought he was going to be more mindful, more scared of it. And I'm not sure that was actually true. I wonder how Clem is going to change things up this time around, because Reynor's found the secret to success so far. And I think if you're on a hot streak, you've got the momentum behind you, then you continue doing a build like that. If you had 2 wins under your belt without doing that type of low econ game, you do it then on the 3rd game, because then you just are carrying with your momentum. So either way you cut it, I feel like Reynor's going to do it, and it's more so about how Clem actually reacts to it. Clem has decided to go for a slightly different build order. 3CC, yes, but 111, so he's going into more Hellions and more Banshees. He might be thinking that if he has more scouting units, and units that can't really be... Well, the Banshees can't be attacked, right? That he'll have an easier time dealing with it. He might be right. But Banshees don't necessarily help all that much against mass Ling Baneling. It's free damage. It's free scouting. But they don't kill everything fast enough. I can only assume that's what Reynor's plan is. Now, Clem might be more cautious about keeping his Hellions alive, and then maybe going for just Hellbats back at home. But, eventually, Banelings kill Hellbats pretty efficiently, too. Not as efficiently as Marines, but... They'll eventually get torn down one way or another. Maybe Clem will emphasize a sensor tower. You know, there is an option of just playing a very boring, very defensive type of Terran. One in which he has practice. Oh, Banshee almost got surrounded there. One queen falls, actually, so that's a good trade there for Clem. Hellions continuing to do battle, find another queen. Certainly worth the loss of a Reaper and a Hellion. In fact, Reynor might be a little annoyed at this point that he's lost 2 queens to the simple early harassment. Third CC heading on over now as Clem moves over to the barracks portion of this game. Reynor not going for a faster +1 carapace this time. I mean, he actually might not be going, but, well, it's a weird thing, right? He's not doing the exact same build that he's been doing the previous 2 games, but he's still doing a build that is very early and mid-game oriented, right? Because he doesn't have upgrades. Upgrades are the path to the future. They get you into the mid-game, into the late game, so it might not be the exact same build, but it should be the same intent, which is to mostly max out on Ling Bane, well, not max out, but get a lot of Ling Baneling, and then continue rushing at your opponent. Fourth hatchery is not going to be canceled. Oh, that was really close, that was really close. Hot diggity damn. Okay, that Banshee is finally going to die. So Reynor is going to take out one Banshee, but not the other one. Oh, I was wondering. I was really wondering. The thing is that mutas just are so not common anymore. I always forget they're an option. I'm like, that's so much gas. That's actually a decent amount of drones. That's no evolution chambers. I'm so confused. Like, okay, Spire. Yeah, Spire's an option. Adoy. Also, I'm surprised. Even if I was thinking that Spire was an option in this best of 5, I definitely would not have called it on Hard Lead. Hard Lead's actually the more common roach map for everyone. It's like the opposite of mutas. And, you know, literally not just because one flies and one's on the ground, but because of the way you use them. Roaches are generally looking for straight-up fights and trying to reinforce as quickly as possible, because overall they're slow. So you do it on shorter maps that are more direct, from your 4th to your opponent's 3rd. Mutas are the opposite. They can traverse large areas very quickly, especially because they don't have to worry about the terrain. And they don't want to take direct engagements, so they're always looking to buy that time and harass and avoid direct engagement at all costs. So smaller maps generally don't feel very good for them. But, you know, that's it's a different way of playing, and as long as you get there safely, more power to you. I don't think Clem is expecting this. Let me double check. See, this scan of the natural might have actually revealed intent. Scan of the 3rd would have. That's where the Spire is. Mutas have yet to be revealed, so these Marines might be running into their deaths or just standing for their deaths. Okay, well, that didn't work out. I tried to go chasing after this drop and instead found the Hellbats perfectly reinforcing. The mutas are still looking for that opportunity, though, and now with a couple of banelings, there it is. There it is. A couple of banelings make all the difference. Now the mutas can successfully give chase on the medivacs. Only so much, though. Clem very quick to getting his reinforcements back on the front lines. He did focus fire down at least one muta. I heard it die, so that's, you know, something. But overall, it looks like Reynor, oh, Jesus, might be getting another surround. He's trying to save them as many mutas as possible. But that was a little awkward. 4 mutas went down there. Damn. I did not hear 4 muta yells. That happened lickety-split. But alright, so 5 more mutas on the way. We're still investing into mutas. +1 flyer on the way. +1 for the ground. Finally 2. But of course, Clem is way far ahead on the upgrades. That's going to happen with the dynamic of the builds and compositions. Thor on the way, going to help out in some of the more main engagements, and a 4th base properly protected by planetary Widowmine missile turret coverage. I think Clem's in his best chance yet. But I think Clem is generally favored in every game besides that Ling Flood style. This style can also, it has the same idea a lot of the time, which is to find that one moment to really pop off and just flood in, right? And then the addition of the mutas means you have a little more chase potential. You kill the medivacs, you have to deal with run by or drops from the Terran as much, right? There's a whole nother weapon dynamic as well, including the glaive worms and with the ling surrounds. But it doesn't hit as hard and as fast. So Clem had a lot more time, although he was not aware of the mutas still, to get his foundation, his 3 bases, 8 racks, well 4 bases, 8 racks, double factory set up. And he didn't really get caught being super over aggressive, which I think the mutas were really hoping to catch, which was Clem literally diving into the main with 2 medevacs with no reinforcements. That's a free kill. That didn't really happen. Clem's Hellenes arrived in time, and by the time there was a surround, it was, well, Clem had a very, very good supply. So yeah, the strengths of this style and the Ling Baneling only style, yeah, can be kind of similar. But one hits way faster. Oh, the mutas, though! The mutas are being controlled! Oh, they were safe. If they were stacking, 3 mutas go down. Many more injured. I do find a couple of missile turrets not completed, but that just buys time. That's all they're ever going to do. Clem is going to win this game. I'm just going to call it right now, honestly. Reynor has already approached the poor position for this style anyway, which is the style, the time at which Clem has 3-3 on the way, massive amount of bases, and maxed out. So there's no way you're going to overwhelm them. They really have to mess up on the control. Really, really, really. So now, ideally, you want to try and get to something stronger, like Ultras, for instance, or Broodlords as well, before the Terran decides that they can push out. But the Terran, I think their feeling of the game has gotten a lot better, their control of the game has gotten a lot better, and the units have literally changed. So Ultras are different. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. So Clem is going to feel out, basically, when he's not being attacked as ferociously and figure out, okay, you're going to get a hive, scans the hive, and then decides to do a slow push down the middle of the map, in which Reynor will have to send waves and waves and waves of Ling Baneling Muta after. Just got successfully cracked. If Clem wanted to, he doesn't even really have to push pre-hive. It's actually lurkers, by the way. He doesn't have to push pre-hive. He can get into Ghost. He can play a turtle style if he really wanted to. And I think he'd still win that one as well. Oh, that's a good Baneling Bomb hit. That is a fantastic Baneling Bomb hit. Reynor really abusing Clem's tenacity. Always wants to chase after the army and get as much as possible. Mutas enter into the main base. They are very, very close to having +2, so they're pretty feisty. 14, not anymore, I think, being invested into. Doesn't make sense at this point. But 14 mutas with +2, yeah, that's a lot of damage. Banelings don't really want to sacrifice themselves like this. Even if they kill the planetary, which they will, that wasn't very cost efficient at all. And you didn't really get much of the army either, so Clem trying to counterattack after that particular moment wouldn't be a terrible idea. Reynor will probably remax quickly, sure, but oh, the starport's under... Oh, okay, goodbye starport. Hello. Starport, focus fired, killed. Only starport on the field. No more medevacs. 8 of them's a pretty good number already, though. Muta's gonna try and bait the Marines into the Baneling bombs. I'm onto it this time. I'm onto you. And they're not gonna actually explode. All right, fine. A 3-3 is about to finish, and I'm actually very surprised by the lurkers. But no ghosts have made an appearance as of yet. Clem, he should at this point realize that he's not being attacked consistently. I mean, he's playing a very difficult game, but usually this is a point in which a scan would have happened. Honestly, I would have expected the scan 2 minutes ago. Well, you're not trying to just literally kill me. So what are you doing, scan? Now pushes out. 3-3 is done, and that is the timing of which a lot of people will wait for, sure. But he doesn't know what hive technology he's up against. And when he is on 4 bases pretty easily, yeah, his 5th, sorry, got killed, but pretty quickly replaced. When you're on 5 bases, you can certainly afford ghosts. At the very least, you have a backup plan. I don't know. Reynor is getting damage done to the economy. 16 SCVs go down thanks to the mutas and Ling run by. The mutas are almost defunct at this point. 4 of them left. It's not a big deal. But they've done more than I expected. Clem is not prepared to deal with a lurker transition. But more accurately, and more confusingly, he's not prepared to deal with tier 3 Zerg.
Base is under
But why? Why does he not have ghosts? Is he really so caught up in playing versus Ling Baneling? Oh, that scan barely missed the forward Banelings. that he's not even thinking about it? Clem is no stranger to late game TvZ. And while some games definitely have called for a later Ghost transition, so like the last week's Best of 5 they played, there was some later Ghost transitions, which I was worried about, but they were pretty much still in time. This is really getting quite concerning. He just has... Well, lurkers aren't out quite yet. Bio went a little too far forward without Medivacs out pick him up, so Ling took advantage of that. Baneling's on the left side, not doing a whole lot. We do finally have the presence of lurkers. Okay, now it is a problem. It is officially a problem. 4 ghosts start up as the lurkers appear on Clem's side of the map. They have both of their upgrades. They're already on top of the 5th base orbital, already on top of the bio, and Clem not playing as well as I expected today. It's like he was hyper-focused on a particular type of game, so he's very good at that game. But as soon as there was a couple different types of games, so low econ Ling Baneling floods and a Muta game, he kind of forgot some of the pacing. You might be able to hold on here, guys, but this is a lot of chaos. Reynor takes the map while this is going down. And Clem will survive. Equal army supply as well. Replaces that 5th base because he has so many extra command centers, so we're not talking about game over quite yet. Now, that was a scary moment. No ghosts and lurkers in your face, but the lurkers taken care of. Concave did well enough. Reynor now should be going more into Mass Ling Baneling Hydra anyway, the more the ghosts do make an appearance. Trying to tear Clem apart. And Clem actually replaces his 6th, I should say, his 5th. Now the one on the right side. He does sell a very strong, fortified setup for a Terran player, in which Zerg players will find this difficult to crack. Now with the addition of Ghosts, his army is certainly more perfect. Burrowed Baneling still popping off. A little less effective now that it's not pure Marine. Baneling's really pulling into the planetary. There are upgrades, but... Oh, the last Baneling helped out. The last Baneling. And now the 5th base is back to being the 5th base, turning into a planetary very soon. Army supplies favoring Clem. Reynor with a huge supply going beep-bopping base to base. Lurker to Ling Baneling Hydra. Love it. He still has a very good chance to win this game. But Clem is now in a very familiar position. Now that we have tons of command centers, 5 bases, and ghosts, I am feeling a lot more confident in Clem's ability to win the late game. But Reynor is trying to pick him apart, trying to win the game at some particular moments, right? It's one moment in which Clem is clearly not prepared, and I think we just found it, actually. Suddenly, Clem's supply dips hard. Now, that is a lot in the worker supply, but it is still important because Clem is not rolling in the dough. He's losing yet another base, of which he still has extra, but it's been 3 or 4 at this point. He's lost too many SCVs, is now using 250 minerals every SCV production round. And his army, while still strong, can still be surrounded and picked apart. And I'm really concerned about that, as Clem has yet to really feel comfortable on 5 bases. Liberator harassment doesn't do a whole lot. It was really the last time there was something on Reynor's side of the map was the drop that was cleaned up by the mutas, wasn't it? Another Liberator, I think, somewhere doing some damage. I don't know, 2 drones just went down somewhere. Who knows where. Bottom left base is going to be cheeky taken, but there is a burrowed Ling, so it's going to be found out at the very least. Reynor going for the throat here. Lots of ghosts available. Viper gets EMP. The planetary will be abandoned for the sake of the SCVs, and the choke will give advantage to Clem as he prepares to just replace the planetary. He is running out of extra command centers. I mean, he's had a lot of extras. a lot of extras. His transition into the late game was great. As expected, those additional command centers really helping him survive here. It was the timing of his ghost that I was just so confused about. They're here, they are helping, and Clem is holding on as Terran do in his last life in this best of 5. Reynor looking for the ultimate combination, however, finally getting to those fungals, looking to fungal out those ghosts, get the Banelings to connect and end this game once and for all. Another base is going to be destroyed. It's lifted, but Hives are on top of it, and the focus should be entirely on saving the Ghost's life. Widowmine's almost to the friendly fire, but not quite. So the command center will be saved, at least temporarily. Attack still going on as Reynor sees an opportunity for a big surround. No Widowmines to help out. Baneling's trying to connect into the heart of the army. Do so to a decent extent. A lot of ghosts still survive. They are rather tanky units. But Reynor now very comfortably up again. 50 supply. Only 5 in army. EMP is still available, so they're going to bop those infestors, not lead to the combo end game scenario. 12 SCVs went down, but planetary... Orbital. No planetary. Orbital was saved. Orbital in the bottom left as well, so that's going to be taken out by just a couple of lings every single time. Clem is dreaming if he thinks he's going to get that up and running. Oh, no! Oh, the shark attack! They're chasing after that army, and Clem was totally unprepared. I mean, his armor supply didn't look that different, but now it is looking way different. He is on his last stand, and he is going to tap out Reynor with the most convincing 3-0 of Clem in some time. Found a weakness. And I'm pretty shocked by that. I am a little flabbergasted. Not because I'm a huge Clem fanboy and Zerg's fucking suck and I hate you guys. No. If Reynor wins. That's fantastic. Love to see it. I hope Reynor gets back to his unbeatable Zerg form. Truly. But this was not exactly the top tier Reynor vs. Clem series that we've been seeing, and I gotta blame Clem a little bit for today. A little bit. But everyone has their off days, and everyone has their moments of shock and awe by strategy in StarCraft, even in a mechanically heavy matchup like TvZ.